This should be a really fun match. What I've got for you today is a best of 3 series of StarCraft 2 between the two, in my mind at the very least, the two most creative pro gamers that are currently active. Spotting right here in the top left-hand corner of game number 1, playing with the blue Terran SCVs, we have, of course, Gumiho, and his opponent, playing right here with the red Protoss pieces, he goes by the name of Astrea. Astrea versus Gumi. I've heard that apparently there's gonna be some spicy strategies in this particular match, so I've got myself a little bit of coffee. I hope you do as well. Depending, of course, on what time of the day you're watching this. I know that there are some... Actually, there's a lot of Dutch people that are more than happy to drink coffee after dinner. How in the world do you guys sleep? I don't know how anybody does this, man. Whenever I go to a restaurant in the Netherlands, there's always people that get coffee after dinner, and they're just drinking coffee the entire time. I don't know how they pull it off. Anyways, it's early in the morning for me, so I think I should be in the clear. We've got ourselves a pretty normal start here so far. So from what I understand, the games are pretty spicy overall, but I don't really know exactly how it's gonna happen, or I don't really know exactly what ends up going down here. So no proxies, nothing along those lines. We've got ourselves a Nexus right here on the low ground for Astrea. Astrea, by the way, of course, from the United States of America. This particular series is from the Korean StarCraft League, however. Not exactly sure if Astrea is currently in Korea. He might just be. I know that he does spend quite a bit of time over there. It seems like that is a almost like a bit of a ritual at this point. Pro gamers have to make their pilgrimage to Korea. I'm not exactly sure if that's the case, but it does seem like a lot of players do gain a lot of MMR when they play on the Korean server. Now, I say that. I know that, you know, for example, players like Cyril have spent time in Korea, but definitely not that much, not compared to some of these other players. Okay, so anyways, not exactly sure though what server these games are going to be played on. So it's the Korean StarCraft League. It was meant for the Korean community, and you can sign up from all over the world, but I'm going to make the assumption that the players probably have to play on the Korean server, which is why I bring it up in the first place. So there might be a little bit of ping right here for Astrea. Regardless, Gumiho has decided, to go for a proxy starport. Interesting. In the meantime, on the other side of the map, we've had a Sentry first. Sentry first, technically capable of tickling a Reaper to death. Now, luckily for this this Sentry here, there is no Reaper anywhere. It's gonna look around the high ground here, right? Make sure that there's no Reaper hiding around this edge anywhere. It turns out that is not the case, because Gumiho is spending all of his gas on getting a very quick starport on the other side of the map. Now, what exactly are we going to proxy? It's Gumiho, so it could be anything. Judging by the fact that we only just now have a second gas going down, it should be a Liberator, I think. Could be a Medevac, also a good option. He could obviously, yeah, it's gonna be a Medevac. Okay, fair enough. He's gonna try and send those Hellions inside of the opponent's main base. You can always try and send the Hellions right here at the front and then get the Liberator in the main base, or you can just try and drive those Hellions into the main base directly by sending them in through a Medevac. Now, there has been a scout on the other side of the map with that very quick Phoenix, that hallucinated Phoenix that is. So Astrea must have realized that something is a little bit fishy. Okay. Well, he's currently defending the natural, so he's maybe a little bit afraid of some units driving in. He hasn't seen the starport, but he's gonna find out about it very soon. He's still playing with the Diva announcer. Gumiho unloads the Hellions inside of the main base of the Protoss, and he's gonna start toasting and roasting and burning and, well, barbecue, whatever, man. There's a lot of verbs you could use. He's gonna start killing a ton of workers, and this is already a little bit too much damage. This happens all the time at the highest level of play. I try and avoid this usually in a lot of videos that I upload. Sometimes I feel like I'm always giving you guys a little bit of a... If you only watch my videos, right, and you don't ever watch any other professional StarCraft 2, which is of course what you do, right? You guys wouldn't just cheat on my videos and watch other people's, right? Anyways, if you only ever watch my videos, you may think that every single pro game is super epic. But I don't think that this particular match right here is anything to really write home about, because this many probes going down this early on into the match, and Gumiho not losing anything. Of course, he did sacrifice quite a bit of his own economy. And obviously, Astrea is not out of this game yet. But this is definitely a bad experience right now for the Protoss, who's probably gonna go into... I would probably go into an all-in. No, he's not actually gonna go for an all-in. He's just gonna try and take a beating. Alright, so Astrea apparently, he's currently in the ring and he's just letting his opponent punch him in the face repeatedly. The problem is that, yeah, he's gonna need those probes in order to outgrow the Terran player, right? And we've seen a lot of Terran versus Protosses where, well, the Terran goes for a standard timing attack, where it's hinging, of course, on that Stimpack research, and the units go across the map. He didn't go for the combat shields yet, which is a bit of a mistake, actually. But anyways, the units go across the map and they absolutely murder the Protoss, even when there hasn't been any economical damage at all. Losing this many probes is just gonna make that follow-up attack from Gumiho significantly harder to hold for the Protoss player. But there's certainly still a chance. It's important here for Astrea that he doesn't spend too much money on things that aren't gonna help him out in the inevitable defense. So he's looking around the map right now. He obviously wants to slow down the advancement of this push to the best of his abilities. But currently there are only 6 Stalkers available against a pretty feisty Terran army here. And Terran is going to get quite a bit more powerful as well moving forward. This is for all intents and purposes a 2-base all-in here for Gumi. I mean, of course he can drop down a 3rd command center if he wants to right now. But he's gonna definitely try to obtain the victory right here, right now. He can even start producing medevacs 2 at a time here, which is certainly not bad at all. So one Stalker apparently has already gone down in the center of the map as a Marauder and a Marine, it looks like, decided to use their combat drugs. And I've got a feeling that this is a Protoss player with a very slow death animation. Yeah, he died a couple minutes ago. It's a bit of a Protoss death rattle over here. At the very least, this Nexus is going to fall. Now, charge is done. Maybe with the sickest charge, there is a chance that he gets back here. Stalkers do try their very best to clean all of this up. Now, of course, if there weren't any probes going down in the earlier stages of the game, this particular attack would never work. But Gumiho is playing a very clean game number 1. Alrighty, next up, we find ourselves on the map Gresvin. This time around, we've got ourselves a Reaper opener here from Gumiho. No structures building just yet, at the very least on the other side of the map. Double gas start here as well for Gumi, so he's going to be able to get that command center going on the low ground, but a little bit later than we ordinarily see if it's just a straight barracks into a command center build. In the meantime, on the other side of the map, it's once again, look at this, man. It's a welcoming committee. That is funny. It's once again going to be a Sentry first right here from Astrea. Sentries are considered to be one of the very worst Protoss units in the entire game. Yeah. Now with the upcoming multiplayer balance patch, apparently the Guardian Shield is gonna last 2.1 seconds longer. Now lasting 2.1 seconds longer is everyone's dream. Okay, no, Lowko, inappropriate. No, it's nice, but I don't think it's really gonna make that big of a difference. The biggest change they've ever made to the Sentry over the years is the hallucination energy cost going down. So it used to, I think, be 100 energy, now it's 75. So basically you can get that hallucination going a little bit earlier on into the game, and it's really quite nice to scout out exactly what the opponent is doing. And honestly, in game number 1, Astrea did see exactly what the opponent was doing. Okay. Well, this time he sees the starport inside of the main base, but I guess it was a bit of a misread. Gumiho once again checking here if there's any additional tech structures that went down over there, but not the case, as the Twilight Council is hiding right over here, closer towards that ramp. Not really a spot that Gumi is going to be able to scout, so he has to be prepared against basically everything. Now, the most likely choices are, of course, Blink Stalkers, as well as Oracles. It's not going to be both. Probe already heading on over here. Look at Gumi. Yeah, he's going to see this right away, but this is such an Astrea build, man. Astrea is super good at figuring out how to play the greediest game possible. So maybe that's why the Sentry first is actually added here into the mix. Although he didn't go for such a quick 3rd Nexus in the... Well, I guess he went for a follow-up Nexus that was pretty fast, all things considered. He had to put all of his eggs in one basket, and that's why that fight still, at the very end of game number 1, looked pretty close, but Astrea is very good at squeezing a lot of juice out of his Protoss economy. And he plays this greedier than anybody else. Now here's the aggression though, coming in from Gumi. It's once again going to be a medevac, but this time around, no Hellions, it's going to be mines. Straight into the mineral line we go. A little bit of a distraction over here as well. They're just shooting at an assimilator. Okay. 2 workers. Nothing all too significant, and obviously this is now, okay, a good position right here for Mr. Astrea, but not one that will necessarily win you the game. Not like the one that we saw in the previous game that is basically game-ending damage. Robo facility right now coming up on the back of this as well here for Astrea. So this is not a quadruple gateway start. As a matter of fact, it's only 2 gateways here in total. He'll probably be adding on more gates here momentarily, but He's basically saying, yo, I am more than happy to just make as much economy as I possibly can before you're gonna be able to drive across the map. And maybe this, like, predictability in the Terran playstyle, right, in this particular matchup is starting to bite Terran players in the butt a little bit. I've seen a lot of Protoss players lately starting to quite abuse this strategy from Terrans, where the Terran really doesn't move out until Stimpack +1 combat shields are done. And most of the time, that's the perfect timing to move out, and that's the timing I recommend everybody who's watching this who's a ladder hero. That's the timing I recommend for all of you to move out as well, but at this point, guys like Astrea, they seem to not so much be playing the opponent or the map, but they're playing the matchup very heavily, right? Like, they're playing the meta. They know exactly what the opponent usually does and how they can abuse it. So this economy here from the Protoss player is gonna be booming. Robo Bay finishing up at 6 minutes. Extended Thermal Lance. Colossus coming up at the 6-minute mark as well. This is gonna line up really nicely with this Terran attack that is on the horizon here. And I wouldn't be surprised at all if Astrea is gonna be able to confidently hold with full 3-base economy. Alright, I take it back. Maybe the Sentry is a pretty cool unit, guys. The hallucination energy change actually has been massive, though. Yeah, it's a funny unit to get. It's got 1 confirmed kill here as well. Absolute chad of a Sentry. Not a unit we see all too often, honestly. I mean, it's good for the Guardian Shield, right? And the Force Fields are also amazing, but it's not like the other StarCraft 2 spellcasters where they kind of are, you know, game-ending. I guess not having a Sentry can be game-ending. It's a little bit different. It's not like the Hero Fungal Growth or the amazing Psionic Storm. Nice little bit of micro though here coming out of Astrea, forcing a Stimpack, trying to slow down this attack. This is still not going to be an easy hold though. Yes, there's going to be a lot of Protoss units. Charge is finishing up right now, but there's no ranged yet. There's the Interference Matrix, another thing that will be changed in the upcoming multiplayer balance patch, where the Interference Matrix ability is going to require a research. It's significant for a couple reasons. Might go over that in just a moment. Anyways, Astrea here is just trying to hold on, and I think he's got it, yeah. I mean, this is a scary Terran army, don't get me wrong. Hello. Laser Giraffe, man. Okay, well, it would have been a hold, I think, if you decided to join in. There we go. Gumiho is still gonna try, though. He doesn't have a 3rd command center yet. Yeah, he's just... Wait, what? Does he... Yeah, he just starts it up over here. Wow, that's a very late 3rd command center. He decides to prioritize the Ghost Academy over a 3rd CC. He still has a lot of unit production here, but with more and more Colossi finishing up, this is gonna be harder and harder to really deal damage with. So they're making a change to the Interference Matrix, at least in the proposed balance changes. We don't really know exactly if that's going to happen, but the Raven itself, this guy right over here, is gonna need to do a little research before it can use the Interference Matrix. So it's not gonna be an expensive research, but it's gonna take a little bit of time, and it's gonna more importantly require a little bit of commitment, because you're gonna need to keep the tech lab on the starport for a little while before you can switch over into medevac production. That's quite a big deal. Okay, Immortal in the mix as well. Yeah, there's really no way that Gumi is going to be able to push here unless Astrea decides to heavily overextend. But at this point, I think Astrea can even start thinking about making a 4th Nexus already. He could also go for a counterattack though if he wants to. He's currently sitting at 69 probes. That's pretty nice. Are we going to go for a 4th or are we going to go on attack? If this was classic, he would certainly go for a 4th Nexus right now. Going for an attack is a little bit scary. Terran still has a banger of an army. We've got a bunch of Templar coming up. A Robo also now producing a there's the rolling R again. He's now also producing a... What's it called? A Disruptor here. To disrupt the Terran? Ha! Funny. Alright, 4th Nexus coming up. Sorry, that was not very funny at all. Do you know it's a corruptor? Not a corruptor. I did not realize this. I always thought it was a corruptor, but it's a corruptor. The more you know. I made a thumbnail at some point in a previous video. This is like a couple years ago. And I wrote corruptor on it. And yeah, people pointed out in the comment section, like, Lowko, it's not actually a corruptor, it's a corruptor. I'm like, what? Whoa. Sorry, what was that Zealot doing? Instant replay. Look at this Zealot over here. Whee! Alright. Zachary, dude. A little bit of a dance break. He lets his brothers take care of that while he takes a beating. You'll love to see it. Anyways. Let's see. So now we're playing a proper game. Yeah, now we're playing a proper game. This is a game that can still be over in a heartbeat, of course, but this is one of those matches that can draw out for a long time, especially on Gresvin. Medevac over here ends up getting sniped. Always nice. Such a greedy game, though, do you need to play here as Protoss in order to match the Terran. It's kind of crazy. Anyways, Stalkers coming in from the side. They want to snipe whatever they can. Not achieving that much over there. And now the Disruptors are coming up. I wonder if we're going to be seeing a lot of that Disruptor production here as well that we saw Classic do recently, where he's been going literally 5, sometimes even 6 Robo facilities into mass Disruptor play. And there's Robo number 3. So these games were played after, so this is what the Korean StarCraft League, right? These games were played after Gamers 8, where is where that series between Bjorn and Classic was played. So obviously Astrea has been watching those replays and studying them. Nice anti-armor missile right there from Gumi, forcing the Protoss player to back off, and maybe it's gonna give him a Nexus here. I mean, he wants to, but a little bit risky. He does decide to commit now. Vikings here trying their very best. Purification Nova over there does connect as well. Part of that Terran army is distracted though by attacking the Nexus, and the Nexus will go down. A lot of probes also do fall, but that was a pricey decision right there from Gumi. I really don't believe that that was worthwhile. I'm like, yeah, you get the Nexus, sure, but it came at the cost of like your entire army. There is certainly gonna be a counterattack coming up here for Astrea soon, who's now double expanding, by the way. He already made that Nexus here at the 6 o'clock position when he realized that this base over on the right side was in a little bit of trouble, so he instantly decided to put that one down at the bottom. So these probes are gonna be, yeah, without their normal jobs for a little bit, but they're gonna be able to start returning minerals relatively soon once again. Quite a few workers did also end up going down, but that gave Astrea a very significant supply lead. He's been going for the double upgrades as well, by the way, which I haven't pointed out yet, but this is real sweet, of course. It's one of the unsung changes of the most recent StarCraft 2 patch. Making those upgrades faster to research really does make a significant difference. Now, there's a big chunk of the Protoss army missing with this particular unit comp here, but apparently Gumiho realizes he's made a mistake. He decides to just simply straight up tap out. There's really no way that 3-base economy is gonna win against 5-base Protoss when they're ahead in upgrades and army and everything else as well. Ancient Cistern is gonna be our final game for today. And apparently in this one, Gumiho decides to start off with a barracks on the other side of the map. Nice little bit of aggression here. This is the game actually that people have been recommending to me, so I'm excited to find out what ended up going down here. But I figured I may as well cast the entire best of 3 series because honestly it adds a little bit of additional context, right? Like, it's not... Watching a StarCraft 2 game in isolation is really fun. I do it all the time. I cast them all the time, but oftentimes I cast a single game from a series, and especially if it's from like a best of 3, a best of 5, sometimes even a best of 7. I think having some additional context is really nice because you can see what these players have been going through getting to this final game here. And I think it, yeah, oftentimes adds an additional layer of depth. Anyways, we've got ourselves that barracks finishing up right now, and well, this is gonna be a quick Reaper inside of the main base of the Protoss. Now, why has Gumiho done this? Astrea has been opening up with a Sentry first every single game. It's a bit of a problem. Anyways, Astrea here did scout the other side of the map. So he sees right now that there's no barracks here. He decides to check out whether or not it's hiding. Okay, he's already gone for a Zealot, maybe a little bit concerned that his opponent decides to go for something hyper-aggressive. Is he still gonna go for a Sentry right now on the back of this? I would be very surprised, but he certainly could if he wanted to. I think an Adept is a good idea. Okay, Stalker, definitely not a bad idea either. Okay, nah, he's gonna be okay. A Sentry tickling away right here against this Reaper would be, it would be nice. Just a little suboptimal. How much damage can he do right now with the Reaper? Well, so far, the micro here coming out of our American is very solid. Ends up getting a single probe here so far, but that is a-okay right here for Astrea. Main reason, of course, is that that Reaper is gonna have to, or sorry, that Barracks is gonna have to make that flight all the way back home. We're gonna go for a third Reaper, really? Alright, Gumi. Fair enough. Double gas, of course, inside of the main base here of the Terran, who now does have a command center coming up on the low ground, but it's pretty late, all things considered. Probe here is scouting out everything. It is gonna get sniped, but he sees the tech lab, he clicked on it right away. That's always a nice bit of intel, right? It's not really too surprising to see that, but it's still good to have the confirmation. Stalker decides to get a bit adventurous. Of course, this is always risky, because, well, when you know there are at least 2 Reapers out, they may as well go around to your main base. Astrea decided to leave the main base protected right now by building a shield battery, as well as another Stalker. So the base should be relatively well protected, but he needs to be careful, yeah. These are Terran units that do pack a punch. We do have multiple Stalkers here available. Okay. Yeah, they can kill a Stalker. They will kill a Stalker. But, okay. I think this is a fine trade right here for Protoss. The only downside, of course, is that you really do want to keep your Stalkers around for longer than you usually want to keep your Reapers and your Hellions around for. Stalkers are still very helpful later on into the game as well, whereas those Reapers and the Hellions, they're more or less just a stepping stone to get more early game information, but to also make sure that you can, well, harass the opponent, right? And maybe get a couple probe kills here and there. Stalkers, especially when you're gonna go for a Twilight Council opener, really do gain a lot more value as the game goes on, the longer they are around for. Alrighty. Starport coming up right now inside of the main base. We've got ourselves a second barracks as well, and a third one coming, or sorry, not a third one, it's a starport here coming up. The barracks, however, is coming up. He decides to go for a reactor first, which means that Gumiho is gonna be passive for quite a while. Like I said, you can't really go for a proper attack as Terran until, well, I mean, you can. If you're Gumiho, maybe you do have a chance, but you can't really go for a proper mid-game attack until you get your stim pack and your combat shields and your +1 infantry weapons. And obviously, when you have to make this flight all the way back home, and then you have to make a tech lab, and then eventually start up the stim pack research, all of your follow-up attacks are gonna be delayed as well. There's the +1 infantry weapons, however. There's the tech lab coming up. And there's the third barracks that I was very excited for earlier, apparently, but it's only coming up right now. Blink is gonna finish up. Is Astrea going to try and punish this? A lot of Protoss players really were fans of that quadruple gateway Blink Stalker aggression. One Stalker, by the way, ended up dying here. A little bit unfortunate. That Cyclone getting in a kill. Yeah, very scary unit. For now, until the new balance patch hits. Apparently it's even scarier then, actually, from what I understand. Okay. We had to cancel that one. Anyways, apparently Astrea is not really too keen on going for 4 gateway aggression inside the main base of the Terran player. Instead, he decides to just go for a very quick third nexus here. I mean, I think originally the intention was to get a much quicker third nexus than this, but it's still gonna be a pretty fast one nonetheless. Now, straight into the Templar archives as well. That's another transition that I think with the proposed balance changes, we're gonna see quite a bit more. Ghosts are gonna have less EMP radius, and because of that, I think the Templar archives, High Templar into Archons, is gonna be a lot more potent. In a game like this, though, it feels a lot more, how do you call it, like urgent, I guess? Like you kinda have to get damage done before those ghosts really hit the battlefield. Usually ghosts will be coming out with triple base Terran eco. But this does really strike me as a Terran base, though, that is, yeah, pretty impenetrable. There's the Storm coming up, okay. Obviously, you still gain value as well out of getting those High Templar, but especially when you start morphing in Archons, it's quite difficult for, yeah, it's quite difficult for Terran to, or for Protoss rather, to gain value over time. Archons are nice to have, but I think you prefer having Templar in a situation like this, unless you want to go for an all-in. Okay. Now, Gumiho is nicely turtled up here. He's got himself a line of siege tanks. Enough units as well to push back these Protoss armies. And this is not really a setup anyways right now for Gumi to be broken, right? I mean, Astrea is not really trying that hard either. He's just sort of giving it a gentle little nudge right here at the front, right? If you're not protecting your siege tank, I will take one, but looks like everything here is on point. Now, looks to me like Astrea is expecting some sort of drop or aggression in this direction. Okay, pylon here at the bottom of the map does get sniped, but here's that Terran army moving up the ramp. Astrea doesn't actually have vision of it yet, so that's a little bit awkward. He sees it right now. This is completely exposed. Charge, however, is done, and this suddenly, yeah, is actually a pretty nice, a pretty nice surround. If we can get that Raven as well, there's the feedback. Not bad whatsoever. Now, is he gonna be able to go for a counterattack? Because he did go, of course, for the charge upgrade. Hard to say. Wouldn't be surprised if he's gonna take a page out of Classic's book here and just take a 4th Nexus instead. Obviously, though, one option you always have here is to sort of like soft contain the Terran player. So this is going to be the moment where Gumiho decides to move from 2-base into 3-base economy. Orbital command is already done. If Astrea knows this, he could try and contain his opponent for a little while and slow this down. So he sees the orbital command right now, but honestly, if you're not here in the face already, nah. The siege tanks, Widowmines already, yeah, they're already all, well, replaced over here at the front. Repositioned right here at the front. Not a whole lot you can get done. So I'm assuming indeed that we're going to be seeing a 4th Nexus. 4th Nexus, 2nd Robo, a Robo Bay as well, or a Robo Bay as well right here for Astrea. Sorry, Jimmy. Jimmy died so hard. He would have died to the Widowmine, he would have died to the Siege Tank, but he died to both. It's gonna be difficult to assign blame here. We're gonna have to look at the replay over and over and over again. Luckily, I caught it on camera, so maybe the judge can decide, but that is not a pleasant way to go. I guess it was over quick. At the very least, you know, Jimmy has already faded into nothingness as well, so that's kind of nice for him. Okay. Are you guys gonna become an Archon as well? No, they had an argument, so they didn't want to become they didn't want to become an Archon here. An Archon argument. If both of the Templar, right, remember all of their previous thoughts before they became an Archon, I guess they accidentally become like a twin. And they can't ever leave each other. It's a bit awkward, man. I don't think I would want to be an Archon. Even though Archons are one of the coolest units in the game. I mean, they have really large heads, so maybe they do share some memories, right? Like, they have large brains. Although I don't really know exactly how much brain space is actually needed for memory. Do you think all my memories fit in like a 1 by 1 by 1, you know, cubic centimeter? Could be, I guess. Could be, I don't know. Then again, my brain's definitely very, very small. Very smooth. No wrinkles. Like a bowling ball. If I knock my head around real quick, I feel it rumbling. Anyways, here we go. There is a Templar. Ooh, that's a cute little Templar drop. Okay, there it is. Love that. He did throw an EMP, but Gumiho did not get the right timing there. That makes me think we are actually playing on the NA server in this game. Okay, well, in the end, though, it does end up going down. Can we target the Raven? I don't think that would be a bad call, but I guess it's not super important over here. Instead, he just wants to go for the throat right now. Astrea decides to go for a big shot forward. Okay. Didn't really think that this was going to be a game-winning type of army, so killing the Raven would have certainly been nice, but Astrea just wanted what he could have gotten, I guess, right? He just wanted to go for as much as possible. Nexus get restarted and cancelled, and then restarted and cancelled. But in the end, it is here, and I believe it's going to be here to stay. Second starport coming up right now for Gumi. +1 air weapons coming up here as well for Gumiho. Very evenly matched series actually so far, right? I mean, game number 1 was a bit sloppy. Fair enough. Small mistake. Happens to the best of us. Actually, not to the best. No. I'd be very surprised if Serral loses 14 drones to 4 Hellions. I'll just come out and say, hey, look, the Robos are coming up. So that is Robo number 3 and 4. Very interesting. Now, I mentioned this in the Classic vs. Beyond series. So in case you're unfamiliar, Classic vs. Beyond, I mean, you guys watch every single video of mine, right? So I don't really need to explain this. But just a quick little recap to freshen up your memory. Right, guys? You would never skip a video of mine, right? In that particular match, in that particular series, Classic decided to go mass robo facility into a mass disruptor play. Now, I mentioned that I thought it was really good, but I wondered what would have happened if we saw ranged liberators. And I think that's probably going to be the plan right here for Gumi. Ranged liberators should be incredibly potent. In that particular match, I think Bjorn ended up not getting the Liberator Advanced Ballistics upgrade, which is a little bit of, yeah, a question mark that I had. Here's the recall, though, trying to save this base. I don't think Gumiho is gonna forget it. Or, you know, choose not to make it. I think it was actually a mistake from Bjorn, but anyways. Okay, so this kind of reminds me a little bit of the Terran versus Zerg matchup, where apparently now Gumiho has started up the command center explosion. Astrea has started up the mass disruptor production. He doesn't have as many robo facilities yet. He's only got 4. Maybe we'll see more in just a moment. But he's doing an excellent job here, splitting up his units and microing the majority of as well. Although, he's sort of been caught here in a corner. This is, of course, what Cure does all the time, right? Can we pick up and get out of here or go into the main base? Because I don't see how this is going to go particularly well. I don't think this was a good enough trade here to justify getting a Nexus for. Okay. There's the Advanced Ballistics upgrade. Okay, so to clarify, this adds a little bit of range to the anti-ground circle that Liberators can use. And when Protoss is super ground-focused, right, which is what Astrea is going for here with his quadruple disruptor production, how in the world is Astrea going to be able to properly counter Liberators? Like, obviously you can get your Stalkers underneath, right? But when the Liberator counts grow, it's very difficult to consider the Stalker as a reliable counter. So historically, what we've always seen in this matchup is a transition towards like mass Skytles right about right now. There's the +1 ground, or air weapons rather. Thank you for making me sound smart, Astrea. I appreciate that. Always important for my ego. I needed that ego boost. Thank you very much, Astrea. No, but it makes a lot of sense. He needs Tempest here eventually, or at least something, to get rid of those libs. He needs to pwn the libs, is what I'm saying. No, hold on. Well, he does actually, but like, you know. Anyways. There's the Stargate coming up. It's gonna be a slow transition, and it's gonna be a while until Astrea really gets to where he wants to go. But still. This is not really a Terran player who's going to be moving around the map with, like, a big aggressive attack here anytime soon. Yeah, so I do believe that... Okay, well, he decides to warp in 9 Stalkers. Against mass disruptors, Terran can just go into Liberators. It makes a lot of sense. I mean, just go into Liberators is much easier said than done, but you get what I'm trying to say. So for the time being, though... It's gonna be a while until those units are out. For the time being, Gumiho is gonna be on 4 bases, and there's really not a whole lot that Astrea can do about it. He's trying, he's testing the waters, but the sensor towers are set up properly. Gumiho gets the heads up over here that indeed there's a large Protoss force heading this direction. Massive EMP, by the way, look at that. Basically halving the amount of hit points in this Protoss ball. He's trying to sneak out another command center here up north. This is a map-specific thing, but... Gumiho is not going to have a whole lot of trouble, I don't think, securing that 5th base right now. Okay, so there's the 2nd Cyber Core. That is for the double upgrades for those air units. And here's the additional starports finishing up as well. We're going to go into the shield upgrades. These are going to be a bit cheaper with the next balance update, it seems. Which is kind of cool. There we go. We finished up the air weapons level 1. Can we go straight into +2? That would be amazing. He is busy microing over here on the other side of the map, but the +2 upgrade is very helpful. At this point, Astrea can't really start up any Skytles production yet, but I do believe we're going to be seeing that here momentarily. Okay. There it is. Alright, that's a big upgrade, especially for carriers. The interceptors benefit from that upgrade a lot. Now, Astrea keeps on trying to roll the bowling balls forward. Yeah, it's basically now almost like a Protoss versus Protoss army here. At least that's what Stalker Disruptor always reminds me of. The Colossi, in the meantime, are on the left side of the map. Not that important a unit anymore. There's going to be a moment where you kind of want to get rid of them as well and replace them with units that can fly. It's kind of funny because the entire early game of Terran versus Protoss is trying to get the Colossi out, and then at the later time, they're just a waste. They're just a waste of supply. So I think he's basically, he doesn't want to throw them away, so he's just making 5 Stargates right from the get-go before making, like he's making 5 Stargates and 3 upgrades before he's making a single Stargate unit, which is kind of cool. He can suddenly whip out a big round of carriers or Tempest or whatever he feels like. Kinda cool. Same honestly can be said right now for Gumi, who's adding on 4 additional starports here himself as well. He's gonna finish up the +3, which is a big improvement as well. If you want to go into some heavy hitters, like for example Battlecruisers, which, I mean, that's a unit that is, in my mind, almost synonymous with Gumiho. He loves Battlecruisers. It's certainly an option. He already does, of course, have the fusion core done. Astrea still hoping for a lucky strike, but not. Yeah. Okay, here we go. There's the weapon refit. Sorry, I got a little too excited there. Don't know what that noise was. I apologize. Anyways, I love Battlecruisers, okay? Give me a break. Everybody loves Battlecruisers. Every science fiction nerd loves Battlecruisers. Don't lie to me. You've definitely dreamed about being on a capital ship like that. Not just once, probably many times. Okay, with Protoss units going down, with Terran units going down, both players are replacing them with higher tier units, and they're both probably thinking they're so smart. They're like, ha, my opponent never realizes that this is coming up, and turns out they're doing the exact same thing. Now, it's been a while since I have seen Protoss do well against Turtle Terran in the late game. I don't want to be a biased commentator here, but it does seem like most of the time at this level of play, Protoss players are, okay, especially if they start killing their own units, Protoss players are not enjoying playing this late game army as much as Terran players are. Now, I don't really know exactly where this series is going to go and who ends up winning here, but it does seem like Terran wins a lot of these late game encounters. Got some lasers shooting over here. It's always a bit difficult, right, to decide if you want to go Tempest or if you want to go into the carriers instead. Because the Tempest have a lot of long, well, air-to-air range, which is really nice. You can pick off those Battlecruisers from a long distance. So there they are, by the way. Battlecruiser operational. That was my best impression. Wasn't very good. Anyways, the Tempests are nice, but the carriers are a lot more rigid. There's a lot, yeah, especially when all of the interceptors are deployed, there's a lot more value you can get out of those. The Tempests are more of like a poking and prodding type of unit, right? Like you throw a revelation on them and then you deal some damage and then eventually you might get the kill. But in straight up fights, I think most players do favor the carrier instead. Although I've seen a lot of this. The planetary went down. One SCV was still around but it just instantly restarted. Not bad. Anyways, there have been a lot of Protoss players lately who do seem to enjoy getting like a round of Tempest before making that big Skytos carrier transition. Armor upgrades coming up as well, by the way, for the Battlecruisers, which is not to be underestimated, especially against upgraded carriers. They're getting into the +3 upgrades. Massive upgrade right here for the carrier, and if Terran is gonna not be on top of those armor upgrades, I think he's gonna be in a world of trouble. But we're gonna start tippy-toeing around each other here. Good economy here, though, for Astrea. Yeah, he's had the income advantage, well, for a very long time. Longer than the 10 minutes that we get on this income advantage graph. He's got 73 probes. He's creating a, yeah, cross-map situation here, or like a split map situation here. If you can take one of the bases that ordinarily is the Terrans, that would be absolutely amazing for him. Okay, Purification Novas. Constantly trying to bowl a strike, right? Just trying his best to, yeah, get a big hit in. Additional command centers are coming up, and this is one of the reasons why we don't really see as much economy. Now the Battlecruisers, by the way, are showing up. Gumiho, what are you gonna do with them? Okay, kill the Templar, get out. Okay, recoil here being used as well upon seeing that the rest of the Terran army came a little bit closer. And in the end, most players just sort of, both players just, yeah, sort of throwing a punch at each other, but not really meaning it. There's gonna be an all-out clash, though, between these units here before too long. Recoil is gonna be on cooldown for a while. Tempest coming up right now upon seeing the Battlecruiser count. Battlecruiser, of course, very expensive units. Oh yeah, what I was trying to say is that the reason why there's not that big of a bank here for Gumi is because, well, he hasn't had as many bases, but secondly, he's been spending a lot of his money on additional command centers as well. So he's already going up to like 9 orbital commence, which is basically what you're looking for. Once you get up to like 10 or so orbital commence, you feel like you have infinite scans as a Terran. High-sec auto-tracking coming up. Building armor queued up as well. Gumiho with the flex over here. Now here come the Battlecruisers. And they're putting in a lot of work. Keep in mind that they can teleport away at a moment's notice. It takes them a second. So they can use the Yamato guns just like that. Sniper Tempest and go home. And repairing, of course, is much cheaper than it is to rebuild the Battlecruiser. So as long as he gets the unit out and he repairs it back up to full, it's all A-okay right here for our Terran. He did end up killing 2 Stargates there, which is fair enough, but I don't think he really needs, you know, the amount of Stargates that he had anyways. Shadow Strike coming up. I mean, Astrea could rebuild the Stargates if he feels like he did need 5. Battlecruisers now in the bottom right-hand corner, being a nuisance as well. Trying their very best to just constantly poke here. Obviously, much like Recall, it's a cooldown that takes a while. So he needs to be careful he doesn't get caught off guard here. That's a planetary going down, but now the bio army is moving forward. Although there's a group of stalkers that manages to blink underneath. One of the BCs ends up going down. That's minus 400, minus 300. Pretty expensive unit, of course. Ghost Cloaking coming up here as well for Gumi. He really needs to be on top of those armor upgrades. I am emphasizing it once again. Those armor upgrades are absolutely massive. Whoa, that's a lot of Purification Novas, dealing so much damage. The bio army, though, is just skipping into the main base right away. Gumiho is just gonna go for the throat. This is like the soft underbelly of the Protoss player. He doesn't have energy on this Nexus to recall, which is kind of funny. And the cooldown, I mean, it is available once again, but it's gonna be kind of dangerous for the Protoss to make that decision. He can, however, come home at a moment's notice, whereas Terran really can't make that choice. The Battlecruisers, though, are all waiting right over here. Are they gonna throw up some Yamatos and then jump towards the other side? I think that's exactly what we're gonna try and do. At the very least, we're gonna just, well, hit the Yamato guns. I thought we were gonna try and get to the other side and maybe reinforce the Terran army, but that's not even needed. Instead, these Battlecruisers are being used to kill everything else, only part of that Protoss force. There we go. Oh my god, was gonna be able to recall back home, and these units are gonna have to start running away. They were trying their very best to get rid of that bio army inside of the main base, and the Disruptors are nice and all here, but there's very few Terran ground units for them to actually kill, assuming that Gumiho pays attention. Tactical nuke right now coming up as well here for the Gumi God. Void Race on the production tab. Fleet Beacon coming back up. Additional Stargates coming up as well in the bottom right-hand corner. Gumiho has successfully destroyed all of the infrastructure in the main base of the Protoss, but Astrea also dealt a lot of damage on the right side of the map. Gumiho is still maxed out at this point, but gotta put a little asterisk right next to that. He doesn't have that much money in the bank. Astrea's gonna have to remax. He's waiting, I guess, right now to, yeah, just slowly put out more and more of these Stargate units. Losing all of that in the middle of the map sucked. Look at his hero Immortal, killing a planetary as well, or at the very least finishing it off by himself. Not bad whatsoever. There's still a lot of income here as well for Astrea. He's gonna have to maybe reshovel some of these SCVs, maybe consider getting another Nexus over here. He's gonna have to finish up those pylons, but he is gonna remax, and it's gonna be a banger of an army. Is he gonna have the time for it, though? We're still about a minute or two away before Astrea can get a remaxed army once again. Battlecruisers still going to town. They have Yamato guns available again, as well as tactical jump. Here's that big transition coming up for Astrea. Trying his very best. Bio Bull moving forward as well right now, straight through the center of the map. Love the way in which Gumiho is using these Battlecruisers, though. It's so clever, right? The Protoss army, in the meantime, is in the top left-hand corner. I think Astrea at this point has realized it's going to be difficult to deal with this army, but what if the army comes towards him? One of the BCs is very low, so yeah, maybe stacking all of these units up together is not a bad idea. This is going to be a dead Protoss army. I mean, at the very least, Recall once again comes off cooldown. I didn't think it was going to be available again already, but that's actually kind of nice. Having a mothership here would have actually also been really cool, because that upgrade, of course, or that ability rather, does not share the Recall cooldown. Anyway, somehow, some way, how do you guys get out of here? How in the world did you guys somehow escape that? 48 probes have gone down. Gumiho has only got 16 workers remaining himself, however. But you can see the traits here. They have been phenomenal. Only 3 medevacs here in charge of healing this entire Terran army. Liberators are coming up. You know what? The Stargates actually live. Problem is, Astrea really needs to remax. He's got so much money in the bank, but this is too slow. I don't know why he hasn't fired up like anything, like a mama ship. That would be 400, 400. Like anything at this point is better than money in the bank. Okay, much like in real life, consume, consume, consume. No, okay, now that's bad advice. Never save is what I'm saying. Never macro. If you have money in the bank, your macro sucks. No, okay, no. But genuinely, this is a problem here though for Astrea. He is, well, I mean, this is a Terran army that's begging to get hit by a laser, but... Oh, he hit a supply block again. This is painful. This is painful. I mean, here comes that Terran army. They can't even really use Stimpack anymore after this, but you know what? We can use tactical jumps here with those Battlecruisers. Look at this, man. Gumiho is out of money. Does he have enough, actually, to break through this? Hold up right now. There's still so much money available for Astrea. Astrea, this hurts my feelings, bro. Why do we not just have a mama ship here? These units are basically dead. Gumiho doesn't have any money here. He doesn't really have any income. We just need to have some units out. Literally anything here. I think a mothership would have been the most obvious thing here to produce ever. Such a good unit here for that utility. Dark Templar, by the way, getting a bunch of kills. Not bad at all. Somehow it seems to live as well through all of that, despite the scan. This game is not over yet. Yeah, he actually holds. I thought he was super dead there. I'll be honest with you. When those Battlecruisers came in, they looked very overpowered. When I heard the, you know, I heard the scan and then I saw the things coming in, it was terrifying. Gumiho is flat broke. He doesn't have anything. Okay, never mind. Having a bit of money in the bank is nice. Having a mama ship and maybe a couple more units would have been even better, though. I'll be honest with you. But here's a Widowmine just walking on over here. It's an upgraded one, however. Okay, it just barely ends up going down. Suddenly, Astrea is on the hunt. I don't think this is a clean game here by Astrea. His late game definitely could use a little bit of polish here. He probably thought he had more time than he actually did, but... Okay, here's Gateways coming up again. We're gonna go for Fleet Beacon number 3 in this match. Vikings being microed here. Lovely work by Gumi. Of course, these are +3 Vikings, so they don't mess around. Okay, another Liberator, though, ends up falling as well. Astrea, we gotta be so careful here, mate. Apparently, Gumi is thinking about going in for the counterattack once more. Can we get some shield batteries, maybe? Like anything here? Maybe some photons? That would not be a bad idea either. Okay, well, I think we're gonna give this up. At least that's the feeling I'm getting here. He doesn't have the ability to recall right now because he doesn't have energy on the Nexus. Although he's gonna get it right now. Are we gonna recall? Oh no. Astrea is starting to fall apart, guys. Like, not in this game necessarily, but it kind of feels like mentally he's falling apart a little bit in this game. That's a lot of probes going down. I don't think this was necessary because we still have, well, 6,000 resources in the bank. Like, we could have had a couple Templar static, we could have had anything here. Instead, I think what he's doing is accepting the loss in the bottom right-hand corner. He's gonna rebuild over here in the top left, but it's also slow. I feel like we've had more money than more money here than supply for like 5-6 minutes right now. Okay, Gumiho though, doing an excellent job, spending the money that's coming in. He still has his main base, right? Imagine if Astrea left a round of Zealots behind when he first recalled back home. Those Zealots didn't really do anything anyways. Would have been really nice to have literally anything just slicing up some of this infrastructure. Because Gumiho doesn't have the money here to rebuild any of it. He doesn't know though where Protoss is currently located, but I mean the amount of options that are available right now on the map are very, very small. Yeah, kill those assimilators, dude. This is your top priority right now, Gumi. I agree, mate. Very critical. Okay, now we've got some shield batteries coming up here. This looks, however, like a Terran army that is gonna demolish interceptors. Astrea still with so much money in the bank. Dude, don't tell me you're gonna lose this game with this much money in the bank against a Terran who's been flat broke for 5 minutes. I think that's exactly what we're gonna see. Yeah, I think so. I mean, these interceptors are gonna die. And I think that's gonna be the end for Astrea in this match. It's Gumiho who obtains the victory over Astrea 2-1. But I think if they were to replay the second half of this game a dozen times or so, the results would be very different. Hey, if you enjoyed watching this video, I upload new videos pretty much every single day, so make sure you hit that subscribe button. And I also have a second YouTube channel, that's youtube.com/morelowko, where I post completed games that I've streamed on Twitch. There's a link down below in the description. Thank you for watching!